Hello, I'm Mr. Conyers, and I'm your physics teacher. You're watching me on video because I was called for jury duty, so I still wanted to be able to greet you and talk a little bit about the class. I'm going to start with the syllabus. I'll go into Canvas, and we'll call it a day. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at our syllabus here. Um, Start at the beginning here. If you had me for chemistry, it looks very much similar to that. The course summary is basically talking about, we're going to learn about the principal ideas of physics and the physical world. What does that mean? I'll talk about that when I return, next time I see you in person, which should be the very next class, I hope. All right, let's go through some basic class expectations. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. You guys are all juniors and seniors, and you kind of know what the expectations are, but let's do it anyhow. Please be on time to class. I'm especially going to emphasize this because last year, with our strange schedules and COVID and all that, there was a lot of leniency there, but we're back to the strict rules of tardies, and so many tardies end up in detention and so forth. So please don't be late to class. This is going to be especially important for classes that are first thing in the morning. First period tends to be when people are late, or right after lunch. So be mindful of that. All right. Basically, I don't know that this is really going to be an issue, but two, we're in class. You don't need to be talking loud enough that someone can hear your conversation across the room, and certainly don't be talking when I'm trying to give instructions, because other students may need to hear what I have to say. The third thing is more about materials that you need. You need something to keep all of your work organized, all worksheets, etc., your notes. These are just suggestions: 3-ring binder, notebook folder, whatever works best for you. Obviously, bring something to write with every day, preferably a pencil, because we're going to be doing a lot of calculations. All right. Also, speaking of calculations, it's best, I have some classroom calculators, but it's best if you have your own and get used to your own calculator. You would need at least a scientific calculator. If you already have a graphing calculator for your math class, that'll work just fine as well. You just want to make sure you have your trig functions on there, like tangent, sine, cosine, etc. Also scientific notation on there. So scientific calculator will be enough for that, and those are really inexpensive if you don't have one. It says respect, number 4, respect people and property. Keep the room as clean as possible. Yeah. Here's the thing. This is a chemistry lab. Even though we're in physics class, I also teach chemistry. And the temptation is, when you're working at the lab benches, is to use the sink as a trash can. Please do not do that. Use the trash can as a trash can. All right, next one is just bathroom facilities. Yes, we've got a limited time together. I'm not going to be stingy with allowing you to go to the bathroom. If you need to go, you need to go. But please try to use those facilities between classes if possible, to limit the disruptions to class or your missing class period. All right, so we don't want to miss class time as much as possible or have any disruptions. Electronic devices, that's pretty much mostly going to be smartphones, but some of you have tablets and computers and all. They shouldn't necessarily be out during class unless you've been given explicit instructions to do so. I know some people use their computer to take notes. You can talk to me. That'll be a case-by-case basis. And there are going to be times when I do tell you to get out your smartphones or whatever. You might be taking a quiz or something like that on there. But otherwise, I just don't want you on it because I feel like it's just a distraction. All right. Each day, you are expected to participate in class. That could be a lab activity. It could be discussion. It could be completing problems, etc. The idea, though, is you're engaged and you're participating. You're not checked out. All right. That's just a day off. You're not really learning if you're just kind of checking out for the day. So please be prepared to be engaged. You will be responsible for any work you missed, and that could be a problem this year. COVID hasn't gone away yet, so we don't know how that's going to work yet. I'll talk more about how you can access stuff as we go, but ultimately, I want you to try to keep up with missed work. If you're absent, you can contact me. It will be on Canvas, which I'm going to talk about in the next one, the next item here. And we may have to be very flexible and figure out how this works as we go, assuming that we end up having some kind of breakout with COVID. I'm hoping not. Fingers crossed here. All right. Homework. Basically, what is homework? It could be classwork that you haven't completed. It could be lab write-ups that you started in class that you haven't completed. It could be specific assignments given to you or reading assignments, etc. You're expected to turn them in. They will have a due date. They're going to be turned in through Canvas, so you'll see the due date. If you turn them in on time and they're 100% complete, you will receive full credit. If they are late or they are incomplete, you will receive half credit. And if they are both late and incomplete, you will receive no points for that. Now, sometimes things happen and you can't help it and it doesn't get in on time and you get no points for it. Here's the way the system I have in place to help make up for that. At the end of the semester, I will add the equivalent of 3 homework assignments into your grades. That should therefore mean that you can miss up to 3 homework assignments with no penalty. All right. By the way, academic integrity, honor code, plagiarism, there's an attachment to this that I'm not going to read. You can look back down at that later. The bottom line is you should be showing me your own work. It should not be somebody else's work. All right, here's the textbook we have. They're in the media center. We didn't use it really at all last year, so I'm not going to make a big to-do about that. I'm not going to even send the class down to get it. I might later say we need to get those books, and then it'll just be up to you to stop by the media center at some point and pick one up. Okay, but for now, don't worry about that. So below, I'm not going to read through all these other than just the highlighted bold words here. Your assignments are going to include things like homework, reading, and class notes and class participation, class activities, laboratory activities, quizzes, and tests. The way the quizzes, I'll stop for a moment and talk about the quizzes and tests. That seems to get most people most anxious. You will be having quizzes fairly often as a sort of check-in to see how you're doing. They can be on assignments we've done in class. It could include stuff from labs, etc. But mostly reading assignments and classes problems and homework problems. The way it's going to work on most quizzes, you're going to be given more than one attempt. I can't think of one you don't get more than one attempt. So it might be 2 attempts, it might be 3 attempts. And the way that's graded is, and it'll indicate this on each quiz, it may be, you may get the highest score is graded out of the attempts. Say if it's 3 attempts, it takes the highest score. And in some cases, it will be an average of those. And that all really just depends on what really the format of that particular quiz. On tests, there's usually 2 to 3 per quarter. They're obviously a lot more comprehensive than the quizzes. They're going to include almost everything you've covered in a unit, and you've probably taken many tests and you know how that works. If you have further questions about that, you can ask me when you see me in person. At the end of every semester, there will be a comprehensive exam that will include everything we've covered. All right. There will be, you will be given plenty of advance notice on tests. It'll be found, the notice will be both in Canvas and given to you in class. Extra credit, I don't just assign extra credit because you suddenly become concerned about your grade, which usually happens at the end of the semester. So please do not ask me, can I do something for extra credit? All right. Here is a list of things you can do to try to enhance your chances of doing quite well in class and getting the most out of the class. I will not read all this. That would be quite boring. I would like you to go back through the syllabus on your own and read this. This syllabus can be found in Canvas, and I'll show you that in a moment. All right, I'll just read the highlights, though. Don't try to memorize the course. All right, try to learn how to problem solve. Don't just try to memorize facts. It really doesn't work that well. Turn in all your work on time. Please complete all assignments. Don't just partially do them. And when you do get confused or lost, ask questions as soon as the need arises. Teach yourself the skills you know you lack. In other words, don't focus on stuff you're already really good at. Start working on the stuff you're really struggling with. Teach course to others. You have an opportunity right here in class to help your peers. Sometimes that's a great way to learn, is by actually teaching other people. It makes you think a little deeper about it. Try not to miss class. I know that that's going to be interesting with potential COVID outbreaks, but try not to miss this class. Schedule your doctor's and dentist appointments at some time besides when class is meeting if you can. Extra help, we will have access again this year. Please come in for extra help when you need it. Try to make it fun. We're just try to have an open mind about the class and make it fun. The grades will be based on test scores, quiz scores, labs, homework, and other activities, right? The course, if we look at the schedule, this is tentatively what I intend to cover. This could change. Not quite sure how it all breaks down. And each of these units, there will be a test at the end of. So first semester, currently, the plan is to cover measurements, linear motion and two-dimensional motion, forces and Newton's laws, impulse and momentum. That's first semester. Okay, it's possible conservation of energy will also move into that group, but we'll have to wait and see how things go. Second semester, if we don't put conservation of energy in here, we're going to put it in the second semester. We will cover waves and we will cover electrical and magnetic fields. Now, when you look at this, it sounds like, well, that's not a lot, but there's a lot, other than maybe measurements, there's a lot under the umbrella of each of these units. And so some of them may even be broken down into separate units. For example, linear motion, two-dimensional motion may or may not be separated into separate tests. So anyhow, but that's just a general overview of what we're going to cover this year. Your math skills, I know many of you are probably taking AP Calculus and college algebra trig, etc. Really, we're not going to have super high level math in here. You are expected to be able to do some basic algebra and some basic trig functions. All right. The rest of this is just talking about academic integrity. It's right out of the student handbook. You will be held accountable for that. So please feel free to read it here or read it out of the student handbook so you are aware of the expectations on that. All right, now let's go take a look at Canvas. If you've had me in the past, it's going to look very much, those of you that had me last year, I should say, when we were living in the world of COVID, so you had me for chemistry, it's going to look a lot like that. If you had me chemistry a couple of years ago, then maybe I need to show you how this Canvas works. This is the home page. I know it may not look exactly like this on yours, especially if you are, I'll put it in student view here. But if you're on your phone, it might also look different. Oh, and unfortunately, I haven't published a class yet, so we'll leave student view. You can't see anything there. All right, the thing I want to show you here, here's the course syllabus, by the way. These are Google links. Right now, you can click on them, but don't expect if you're absent, I'll be there. I have no intention of doing Google Meets when you're absent. This is here just in case things don't go well. In other words, I start having large percentages of my classes, or large percentage of my students in my classes are out because they've been quarantined or sick from COVID. That I don't anticipate that, but if it does, then we'll change. But it's here for now. I don't intend to use it, but there they are. You would just click on this, and when you click on it, it's going to bring up the Google Meet that you need to meet in for your class. All right. Below, you'll see a weekly agenda. When you click on it, it's just going to show you what we're doing for the week. There's no active links in there. It's just to give you an overview of the expectations of what we're covering that week, in case some of you like to look ahead or if you're absent. Now, below that, which seems empty at the moment, will be the different units. When you click on that, it'll take you to the unit, and it'll show you the assignments as they arrive. It won't show you the entire unit's assignments, just as we go along. All right, so you could, in other words, go there to see what you're missing that day if you're absent. Even better, it's just like many of you are familiar with Canvas, there's going to be a to-do list. Look at your to-do list, okay? And that's basically the main thing I wanted you to see here in Canvas. If you do have questions when you do see me in person, feel free to ask me those questions then, okay? All right, that is it. All I have to do now is figure out how to stop recording.